Well, if you're a political junkies like we all are, you kind of lament the fact that there's not a really heated statewide race for us to get excited about in the November midterms. But there are some constitutional amendments, one of which in particular is probably the most controversial in terms of the conversation it's stirring. Otis, you had a commentary about this earlier this week, so I'm going to let you take it away. We have a graphic made of the 4 different amendments that voters will be deciding in November. Let's start with the last one first and work our way up to the one that we believe is the most controversial.
Yeah, Richard. You know, the one is the removing the ban on clergy members becoming lawmakers. It's unenforceable anyway. There's one that prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude for people who have been convicted of crimes. That's going to be a non-controversial one. And then the governor's succession, if he's unable to serve, or he or she down the line, I think that one's going to be less controversial as well. The big one that everybody, I think, should be and will be talking about is the right to work amendment.
And that is basically it is already codified. It is already state law.
It's already state
that
law.
we are a right to work state.
Exactly.
But there are a lot of business interests and Republicans in particular saying, no, let's go ahead and put this in the Constitution.
Right.
So it's much, much harder to have us ever not be a right to work state.
Exactly, Richard. And the problem I have with that is I think that we would be hamstringing future elected leaders and the public. Let's say 100 years from now, when people have a different impression about unions, they will be unable, or certainly it will be harder for them to change that law because it'll be in the Constitution. They'd have to go through another constitutional amendment. I just think we don't need to be codifying that in the Constitution. We already have a state law, and then 100 years from now, when people are totally different, if they want to change it, let them change it. Let's not do that and put this in the Constitution.
Of course, the counter argument to that, Deidre, is that workers want to be able to remove themselves and not have to be forced to join a union. They should have the right to do that.
Well, you know, I think unions work for all employees if there are businesses that have unions. And this recommendation is just anti-union. And everybody, in my opinion, should vote no on it. It should not be about a part of the Constitution. It should be about those workers who are working for a business. If they want to unionize, they should have that option. So I'm saying vote no, and then yes, yes, and yes. Definitely vote no on that First Amendment.
And so, Tawan, I got to ask you, there's a lot of suspicion is how much did Ford, how much did Volkswagen, maybe some of the other car makers in Tennessee have to do with getting this on the ballot?
I heard Ford did not have anything to do with this because they are used to unions, but the Japanese car makers are concerned about it. But it was sponsored by Brian Kelsey. This is a pro-business, although it wants to sound like it's pro-worker. It's not for the worker. No. It's pro-business piece of legislation. Vote no, yes, yes. I would.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with.
Real quick.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Brian Kelsey is the one who sponsors this, and he's not even running for re-election because he's under indictment. I just think that this is the wrong thing to do, Richard.
All right. And with that, I'm out of time. I want to thank all of my guests for being with me today and all of you at home as well. We will see you next week for ABC 24 This Week.